Okay, so I don't do this very often, so excuse me if I fade in and out as I wave my hands around. All right, so basically my presentation is largely going to be what might be construed as being the kind of bad guy of the whole sort of the whole symposium, since I'm representing somebody who hasn't largely been viewed very, very favorably by particularly, I think, the art jewelers in the country. In any industry, I'll just tell you very briefly a little bit. The presentation is called The Current Position of Contemporary Jewelry in South Africa, which is a council perspective. Okay, the council was it's a non-profit company. It was established about half a century ago, and its function was to represent and assist the jewelry industry with a whole bunch of different functions, ranging from advertising, sharing of information, legal guidance, and assistance in obtaining funding, amongst other things. It's a very diverse kind of organization, right? So there are four main niches that the council represents. Okay, firstly, you have your manufacturing jewelers. Okay, which would be your Jewelry Manufacturers Association, retail jewelers, wholesale jewelers, and then there is another niche which represents diverse services to the industry, like advertising agencies, banks, insurance companies, and these kinds of things. As most people have alluded to during the course of the day, in response to global and local political and economic factors, the nature of the consumer changes all the time. Okay, in industries, if an industry, and this is any industry, if any industry is going to last, it has to actually change with its consumers. Okay, it has to try and be proactive, in fact. Okay, most industries, as is our own, is actually quite reactive. All right, so what has basically happened is, because of this need to adjust the focus of the jewelry industry to kind of embrace a broader spectrum of jewelers, the council's basically come up with a separate sort of category for art jewelers within the Jewelry Manufacturers Association and within the Jewelry Council. So since its inception, since the council's inception, it's been possible for any jewelers to be a part of the Jewelry Council. Okay, but it's largely been, I think, aimed at retail jewelers and the larger jewelers. Smaller jewelers have always had a bit of a problem getting sort of what might seem to be proper representation by the council. Okay, and this has gradually changed. Okay, and one of the reasons why the art jewelers have basically been brought in is because they've been misrepresented. In fact, they have not been represented at all within the greater sort of jewelry industry. Okay, so what has essentially happened is we now have the separate category. Geraldine, in fact, represents the art jewelers at the Exco, so she's quite a big voice to contend with, which is a very, very good thing. Okay, and the aim of this particular category is to create a platform for art jewelers to have a dialogue and to give them a voice in industry. That's very, very important. And also to provide a platform to network, share information, and to provide further opportunities for art jewelers in the country. Right, so we've got I'm going to rattle through all the boring stuff. Well, most of it's boring, but I'll rattle through it, okay? Okay, so some Jewelry Council initiatives which may be of benefit to art jewelers. Okay, so communications, we'd have emails. That's probably the most important. The South African Jewelry News Magazine, it's run independently by Isikova Publishing. Jewelry Council's website has got a number of incorporated links which can be used, such as competitions, international art jewelry websites, books, articles, and so on. And there's a separate section for art jewelers. It's not a discriminatory thing, it's more of a specialized kind of thing for art jewelers, where as an art jeweler you can actually go in there and you can have a look and you can get links to international competitions, you can get links to various fora and dialogues. Okay, so that's quite a nice part of the website. Also very, very important, well, in fact, I'll get to that just now, so it's not important just yet. Okay, that's South African Jewelry News. Okay, this is, as a Jewelry Council member, you'd normally get a copy of this. Okay, this is the biannual directory of all members, okay, which is published in order of province and category of business. Okay, and this is a very, very good marketing tool, and everybody that's spoken has basically made some or another comment about marketing. That is the single most important thing that any jeweler can do. One of the previous speakers said that a lot of people kind of get lucky because they know the right person. I don't personally believe that to be true. I think you make your own luck, and the way you make your own luck is by working. Okay? You've got to work, you've got to work. Now, you think of some of the speakers, like Beverly, for example. Beverly didn't get lucky. Okay? She worked and worked and worked. I mean, you saw the amount of work that she's produced. Very, very, very prolific jeweler. That's how you get yourself out there. You work. You have to market yourself. Nobody is going to do it for you. Okay, and this is aimed specifically at the younger people in the audience today. Okay, you've got to market yourselves. You have to be aggressive about marketing yourself. And by using the Jewelry Council, okay, you're actually able to do that now more effectively than you were before, okay? Right, so you've got this directory. There's the African Odyssey, which is it's a Jewelry Council publication. Okay, and it's published annually, and it goes to all the embassies and foreign offices. Very, very important. You want to get somewhere in the jewelry world, you have to advertise yourself. Okay, a lot of people were talking about foreign markets and international exhibitions. This is a way you can market yourselves. Okay, so Council's also got a closed Facebook page for members where you can chat about ideas, challenges, and you can network, you can advertise yourself. Okay, we did consider the idea of having a technical forum where you'd have a bunch of old guys who would kind of answer any technical questions that people might have. We dispensed with that idea because there are sites like Klimto2 and Ganoxin and these sorts of things. So you can get a lot of stuff off the internet. So it wasn't really necessary to create a further forum for this. Okay, that's a picture of the homepage of the website. Okay, and you can see there, opened up is the little art jewelers goodie. So there's a link to international art jewelry exhibitions, book submissions, Instagram links. So you can use this website to market yourselves. You can network on this, and if there are further things that you want, if you feel that there's something that should be on the site, let us know. Email the council, say this is what you'd like to see. Okay, ultimately the Jewelry Council is there to serve the jewelry industry. Okay, if nobody gives it anything to do, then it's just going to do its own weird thing. Okay, and nobody benefits. The way to make maximum use of the council is to tell the council what it is you're looking for and what you want. Okay, so if you want to get together an exhibition and you want the council to market it, they'll put it on the website. Okay, you've got to use this. It's a very, very valuable tool to getting yourselves marketed. Okay, there's the Facebook page. Okay, international trade exhibitions. Okay, the council coordinates international trade exhibitions for members. Okay, and if you're a member of the council, you're then able to obtain funding from the DTI. Okay, and the council will give you guidance through the whole process. So they facilitate this thing. So you say, right, you want to get together. Well, you can't make up your own. International exhibition. But if you want to exhibit at one, you approach the council, and they've got a whole number of processes in place that can help to guide you through the process of getting funding from the DTI. Some of my colleagues use this, and I think it works quite well. You get yourself branded overseas. It's got to be done professionally. Whatever you take overseas is what you're remembered as. So if you send bad stuff overseas, that's what you're going to get remembered for. If you send good work overseas, it's good marketing for South Africa, excellent marketing for yourself. People will remember. You can use these tools. Okay, so the funding would include flights for a person per company, accommodation, stand space with furniture and showcases. They'll help you with your branding. They do freight costs. They do marketing material. They help you with insurance, all these kinds of things. Okay, these are a couple of the international exhibitions that the Jewelry Council worked with the DTI on. International Jewelry Tokyo, January this year. Miami, International Showcase, and then Jewelex Africa 2017. There were 20 exhibitors that were assisted. Okay, and then obviously we have our local version of Jewelex, which is coming up in the next week, basically. Okay. What is also quite good about Jewelex is art jewelers can use Jewelex as a platform to showcase themselves as well. Now, it is a trade fair. Okay, so the jewelry trade is obviously not your main consumer, but it's good to get your name out there. Okay, and what is happening as well is the council's looking at, they in fact offered smaller collaborative stands to smaller manufacturers who couldn't afford a big stand on their own. And I'm fairly sure that we could probably bully the right people into doing something similar for art jewelers as well. So if you get a whole bunch of art jewelers together, you can maybe look at getting a special rate and a stand from the council. And I think it's also a very, very important way to get yourselves marketed. Right, and then there's an annual design competition, which is the Jewelry Council Collection Awards. Right, it's judged at Jewelex by members of the trade on a voting system. Okay, so you don't have a panel of judges. The panel of judges is essentially everybody who arrives there. You go along, all the jewelry pieces are in a showcase, and they're all numbered, and you write your number on a, well, not your number, somebody else's preferably. You write somebody else's number on a piece of paper, and you stick it in the box, and then they get tallied, and then there are some pretty nice prizes that you get won. Okay, and that's basically the little blurb about the Jewelry Council Collection Awards. Okay. The prizes are quite nice, you know, sort of like a kilo of silver and a half a kilo of silver and this sort of stuff. So pretty nice prizes. Okay, these are some of, I think, last year's pieces. Okay, also legislation is very important but often overlooked aspect of the industry. Very few jewelers actually know anything about legislative matters. Okay, and the council helps to send out information on these, provide you guidelines on how to implement these things in your businesses. For example, guidelines on renewal of jewelers permits. Okay, very, very important, an enormous obstacle and a huge pain for anybody who has to go through this process. Those of you who've applied for permits know what a mission it is. The council actually helps you with this. Okay, so any time that any legislation changes around permits, the council is aware of it. Okay, so they can actually tell you about these things. A lot of these kinds of things are pretty much sort of by the grapevine things, okay, where everybody hears something from somebody else who heard it from somebody else who has a friend who heard it from someone else. And very, very often there's a lot of misinformation that goes around these kinds of issues. So if you get it from a good source, that's the way to go. Right, so metal concentrators, who are one of the members of the Jewelry Council, they've also offered to help member jewelers to apply for their permits on a free of charge basis, which is really nice. So they'll get you all the documentation that you need. They'll give you lists of things that you've got to look for. You know, you can do a whole lot of box ticking. They help you through this whole process, and it's very, very, very smooth and very streamlined. Okay, and recently Bernard Stern, who was with Metal Concentrators, no longer, but he was appointed to the South African Diamond and Precious Metals Regulator. He's on their board, and he's looking after the jewelry industry's interests. Okay, the regulator basically didn't have anything to do with jewelry at all, and we now in fact have an industry spokesperson. And it's also been proposed to the regulator that they consider a jewelry industry liaison committee, which will be made up of people in the industry who will be there to advise them and to actually question any weird things that the regulator might feel they have to do. Okay. Right, arbitration and mediation is another one. Jewelry Council offers a service in which any disputes between either consumers and jewelers or between members may be resolved without it costing you a fortune and lining the pockets of any lawyers. Okay, so that's they've got each province has a small panel of experts that helps with these arbitrations. And business funding as well. There's a certain amount of business funding that you can be assisted with as well. So small startup businesses, the DTI helps funding, CIFA helps funding, as well as the IDC. Okay, and they provide loans to small to medium business enterprises. Okay, and obviously there's a whole pile of paperwork that's got to happen, but the council actually assists you with all of this. They put you in contact with the right people, and they'll help you to get the process going. Right, standardized documentation. This has always been quite an interesting issue. Everybody has their own little weird valuation certificates, and very, very often either valuation certificates or invoices or any sort of official documentation or business documentation can wind up getting you into a small degree of trouble. Okay, because you're not really aware of any legal ramifications that may exist because of what you've written on your invoices or on your on your quotes or anything like that. Okay, and so what is happening is the council is developing a bunch of standardized documents. Okay, they've been developed in consultation with legal experts. So if you have a valuation certificate and you have this kind of wording on it, it means that you're covered in any eventuality. You can't have somebody coming down the line and saying, well, my valuation said this and this and this and this, and this is in fact what it is. You'll sort of be covered by this kind of documentation. So they are standardizing things, and these are things that will all be available on the website in any case. Some of them are, some still will be. Okay, and okay, this is standardizing valuation practices. Okay, trade testing, this is just as a matter of interest, something that's also done by the council. There is the QCTO accredited trade test that's offered. It used to be the old industry trade test under the apprenticeship system. That's been kind of reworked via the MQA, which is the Mining Qualifications Authority. So they've reworked that whole palaver, and they've come up with something which apparently is quite good. They took a very long time in getting their acts together, because it's basically like something run by a committee. Just took forever to happen, and there wasn't anything that was actually happening. So South African jewelers weren't getting qualified. They were sort of picking up the skills, but there was nothing to prove that they actually had those skills. And so the council decided that they were going to, in the interim, they were going to develop their own sort of mini trade test. Okay, and it wasn't going to be run by anybody other than the jewelry industry itself. So while the QCTO accredited trade test is run by the Mining Qualifications Authority, which is not jewelers, okay, they blow holes in mountains and fish out gold and stuff. That's what they do. We do the important stuff, right? And what we have is we have a trade test that we developed specially for jewelers, and it's assessed by jewelers. Okay, and now it's not an accredited trade test. Okay, so the certificate that you'll get from the trade test is not going to get you a job in Australia or anything like that. Okay, so it's not an internationally accredited. In fact, it's not even locally accredited. But if you have that and you go to a jeweler, they will know that you have met our industry standards. Okay, so you can, hello? 2 minutes, almost done. In fact, I'll do it in under 2 minutes. Watch this space. Okay, so you can actually apply to do the jewelry manufacturing trade certificate. Right, membership statistics. I'm not going to bore you with these. There has been, as I think the Prof and Farida alluded to earlier on, there's been quite a huge drop in membership over the last decade or so. Okay, it seems to have sort of stabilized, but it's still very, very low. Okay, so you'll see here, there's been a tiny little increase in manufacturers. Okay, very, very, very small numbers of the Jewelry Council. Okay, now if the Jewelry Council is going to have any clout whatsoever in assisting you with any of these matters, it's got to have more members. Okay, any organization is only as strong as the number of members that it has. Okay, and if we get enough members together, then we start having a voice where we can start saying to the regulator, you know what, you've got to deregulate things. You can't overregulate things. We can say to government, look at tax concessions for people who are producing jewelry locally. You know, there are a whole bunch of issues that can be brought up, but you can only do that if you have enough members. If you don't have a lot of members, people are going to go, yeah, well, whatever, you know, go off to your little corner and you can sit and mutter there. You have no voice whatsoever. So the idea is to grow member numbers as much as we possibly can. Okay, that gives us a bit of clout. All right, and that is pretty much it. Okay, and there's the last little palaver. Just a brief word from our characters here. For more information, visit the Jewelry Council website, www.jewelry.org.za, or phone or email at admin@jewelry.org.za. Okay, and that is the Jewelry Council. Thank you.
We have a couple of questions. Kanya and then Geraldine. Sorry, Dave. Come back.
Okay, I guess I've got two questions. My first question is, why isn't the certificate accredited to be recognizable overseas and even locally? And yeah, that's my first one. And then my second one is, considering that you've now added the whole arts jewelry category, From my experience of doing GDP, it leans more towards high-end jewelry. And since now you are more open to the art jewelry, can considerations be made in terms of the GDP and the trade test that you actually accommodate people who are more contemporary as well? Because not all of us actually enjoy the commercial end of things, but you find that you actually know the techniques, you understand the techniques, but what you want to do is contemporary. So can the trade test accommodate that to suit our industry? Because our industry is not made up of just high end, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so the first question, well, the second one actually first, about the trade test. You can do, look, the trade test is to test your skills. It's not a design test in any form. So any skills that you would basically be doing in order to make a contemporary piece, you would have to be able to use those in any case to make any other piece of jewelry. Okay, so it's only a test of skill. So if you're a contemporary jeweler and you want to do that, that's not a problem at all. You should be able to, the test is set up in such a way that if you've got the skills to be able to make a good contemporary piece, you'd be able to make a good commercial piece as well. Okay, and then the other question was related to the accreditation of the trade test. Okay, the Jewelry Council's trade test is not accredited as yet because there's not going to be any point in accrediting it. Okay, so what is going to happen is the accrediting body, which is QCTO, they're going to say, well, there's already a jewelry trade test accredited. Why do you want another one? So what is basically, and they're just going to say, listen, we're not going to accredit another one. Okay, and it's an enormous amount of work and box ticking and hoop jumping and bureaucracy to actually get any program accredited. What is being spoken about? I hope I don't get fired or shot or something for saying this, but what is being spoken about is looking at the possibility of getting a trade test accredited according to international standards. So it's not going to be, so the MQAs, the current MQA one will be accredited in South Africa. We're looking at the possibility of perhaps, we've still got to explore this, so it's by no means a given, but we're going to look at the possibility of finding out about getting a trade test accredited overseas. And I think probably the way to go, and this is just my opinion essentially, is to look at getting it accredited in a country that most South Africans would go to were they to leave the country. Okay, so it probably wouldn't be European, it would probably be, or the United States or the East, it probably would be looking at being accredited in Australia or something, or according to their system. I think that's probably going to be quite a difficult ask, and the reason for that is within the GDP they've got a number of it's a process you have to learn. So there are a whole bunch of sort of projects or assignments, if you can call them that have to be made in order to reach a certain sort of skill level. What would have to happen for the art jewelers to be accommodated within that is somebody would have to work out the appropriate skill levels using contemporary pieces as a yardstick to arrive at those skill levels within the GDP. I don't believe it's impossible. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to do that because by its nature, you're looking at once-off things. So now what you're going to do is you're going to have somebody prescribing to you, this is what you've got to do to meet these particular requirements. So I think it's probably going to be quite a difficult thing to do, but by no means impossible. Yeah.
I just think that, I mean, if someone can spearhead it, then the institutions will be able to assist in terms of how do you assess, because it's basically about assessment criteria. How do you assess a unique piece of jewelry by an individual according to a rubric? So I think that if someone takes the lead, or hint, 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 then the institutions will be very happy to assist. But I think it's a very, very important question in terms of acknowledging art jewelry as a jewelry form within South Africa. I don't think we'll be able to move forward if the entire kind of industry, and especially a body like the Jewelry Council doesn't acknowledge us.
Yeah. See, I think in this case, the GDP is, the GDP is not run by the council. The GDP is run by the Mining Qualifications Authority. So those are the people whose ears are going to have to get bent about implementing this. We could probably speak to Mike Newman about it. He's sort of pretty much at the forefront of all of that. But I think that's probably going to be met with some resistance because you're looking at a very, very, very bureaucratic system. For example, we did, I think it was 2 or 3, might even be, it was about 3 years ago, we developed a setter's qualification, a whole bunch of specifications for that. It's still not been finalized. Okay, so that was a 3-year process, and it ain't anywhere near being finalized. So bureaucracies are kind of notoriously dreadfully slow. But it's something it's something I think it can be brought up somewhere along the line, and let's see what sort of response there is.
I also just want to add on to that. I think that if there's a very good argument that art jewelers can make in terms of an appeal to promote design, art jewelry, contemporary jewelry in a broader sense, and the reasons why we do that, then I think that we stand a better chance of getting the recognition that we need. And I want to put something forward in terms of, if you look at the fashion industry in terms of couture and the ready-to-wear, the couture is kind of out there. Not everybody is interested in it, et cetera, but everybody aspires to it, but it's not necessarily the thing that the person on the street is going to wear. And I see art jewelry in a similar vein, as well as fine arts and visual arts. I think that if we use the art jewelry as the starting point of new innovative commercial designs, then we've got a better argument to make to the industry that we are valuable. Okay, that's me. The next person.
Can I just sort of speak to what you just said there? I think Farida's made a very important point. There's got to be something to spearhead this whole palaver. Now, the jewelry industry is kind of very entrenched in a specific mindset, okay? And that's not going to change in a rush, okay? And this is anything in the world ever has worked on this principle. You've got a mindset, and the only time that mindset goes away is when the people who have the mindset have either sort of shuffled off permanently or they've taken a back seat, okay? And all these various revolutions that happen. I mean, there's one every single decade. You know, there was the beatniks in the 50s, and there were the hippie movements and the mods and things in the 60s. So you have all these movements, and all these movements are basically created by people who have a particular axe to grind, or they want recognition of some sort. Okay, and the people who need to drive this thing, right? The whole kind of art jewelry getting more recognition, are the young people. It's a generational thing, okay? If you guys just kind of plod along and you go along with the status quo, nothing is going to change. So you're the guys who've got to drive this. So the way you drive these kinds of things is by being involved. It doesn't help to sit in the background and mutter about how sad and unfair the world is. You've got to get active, you've got to become part of the thing, and you've got to be heard. And this whole palaver that no, not that palaver, the whole Jewelry Council thing creating, that's Eugene's palaver. This whole thing of art jewelers being more recognized by the council than they were previously, that's the start of something. And it could be the start of something really, really exciting. And you guys have got to jump on that bandwagon. You can't sit and moan and mutter in the background. Become members, okay? I'll just tell you a very quick thing about, you don't have to become full members of the Jewelry Council. Okay, so in other words, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to become a member of the council. If you have a small business that is less than 5 years old, or if you're a one-man business that is less than 5 years old, you can become what is called an emergent jeweler member. Okay, and your fee, it's 150 Rand once-off fee. You don't pay any other fees. Okay, and that's what it's going to cost you per year, where it's going to cost other people up to 3,500 Rand, 4,500 Rand to be members. That's what you pay. That gives you a voice. You're a registered member. You can then start voicing your opinion in the various fora. So you've got to become involved with these things. Sorry, I'm busy raining on the Jeans parade here.
All right, we're going to take 2 more quick questions, 3 more.
You just covered what I was going to say about it costing very little to be a member. So become members. Yeah.
Sorry.
Specifically to get young girls involved.
Okay, in a word, thank you. Look, this thing of being the Art Jewellery Forum ambassador business, if you want to just email me, there is a way that we can expose. I understand what we're speaking about is local. So maybe I'd like to try and see myself as some sort of a bridge to outside of South Africa, outside of Africa. Please be in touch with me somehow. And I mean, maybe it will be a Facebook page where we invite other countries. And the guy that's running this thing from Australia, Kevin Murray, is the most dynamic guy, very interested in outlying countries. So there is a dynamism. I haven't put much into it yet, but I'd like to invite you to be in touch with me, tell me what you're doing, and let me see if I can help to also expose what you're doing outside of South Africa.
Thank you very much, Beverly. If you would like Beverly's details, email address, do I have permission to share it? So you can contact the university and we'll share it with you. And we'll share it on our Facebook page. So make sure that you're on our Facebook page. Sneaky. Temba?
I just wanted to ask, having spent some time in Europe, it was so easy to access precious metal and stones. But then when it comes to here at home, it's so difficult. Like you have all this paper work that you have to go through in order for you to access. So I wanted to ask, what is it that you can do as the council to make sure that this process becomes easy for us? And also, I wanted maybe to suggest that the council and maybe the institutions, they form a collaboration whereby a student, when they graduate after 3 years, maybe they have the license to access those precious metal.
Okay, that's a good question. That's one of the reasons why we've got Bernard Stern on the regulators board. Okay, because what they've essentially done is part of the regulators' mission, and I hope they don't sort of put out a hit squad on me for this, but part of their mission is the whole looking at beneficiation, right? They're going to make sure that all the resources are beneficiated properly and amongst the right sectors of society. But by over-regulating things, what they've essentially done is they've made it almost impossible for young people who've just finished studying to actually get permits. So those are the people that they're supposed to be helping. So now they're saying, oh, yeah, okay, well, if you kind of live somewhere and you don't have an address and you don't have a studio, you can't have a permit. How are you ever going to get one? So this is one of the things that is being looked at. Okay, and this is something that they're going to be taken on about quite actively in terms of amending that section of the legislation to make it easier for people to get permits rather than making it more difficult. Okay.
Sorry, I'm only going to take one more question, and that's from Veronica. We're running out of time, I'm sorry.
I just want to say that I'm very excited to hear about the low membership fee for small businesses. And I think it is the only way to go, and those people, please all join. I've been a member for 1 million years, and I pay lots of money, but it's really worth it. So please join, and let's maybe make some forums that we can actually do something with the young members. And the other thing I wanted to say, sorry to jump in on you, is equip yourself. Get yourself a gold license. I can't tell you how many problems I have with my artists who've let their licenses lapse. It is a major problem. So jump that hoop. It's terrible, but Bernard will help you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I can't take any further questions. We're running a little bit late on our schedule. But thank you so much, Dave. Can we give Dave a hand?